Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Vidavakata His Divine Grace Sri Lesa Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Sri Guru Parampara Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is Ki Jai Sri Vrindavan Dhamma Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Go Premananda Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together, please. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvetam Sarvadutam Prijana Sehitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dhina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhana Sudadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Vevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary, Srila Prabhupada. It's chapter 1, verse number 12. Okay. So, verse number 12, chapter entitled Observing the Armies at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Please repeat. Tasya sañjanayan harṣaṁ kuru-vṛddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ siṁha-nādam vinadyoccaiḥ śaṅkhaṁ dadhmau pratāpa-vān tasya sañjanayan harṣaṁ kuru-vṛddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ siṁha-nādam vinadyoccaiḥ śaṅkham dhamado pratāpa-vān tasya sañjanayan harṣam kuru-vṛddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ siṁha-nādam vinadyoccaiḥ śaṅkham dadhmau pratāpa-vān tasya sañjanayan harṣam kuru-vṛddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ siṁha-nādam vinadyoccaiḥ śaṅkham dadhmau pratāpa-vān
tasya sañjanayan harṣam kuru-vṛddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ siṁha-nādam vinadyoccaiḥ śaṅkham dadhmau pratāpa-vān
tasya sañjanayan harṣam kuru-vṛddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ
pitāmahaḥ siṁha-nādaṁ vinadyoccaiḥ
śaṅkham
dadhmau pratāpa-vān
tasya sañjanayan harṣam kuru-vṛddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ siṁha-nādaṁ vinadyoccaiḥ śaṅkham dadhmau pratāpa-vān tasya sañjanayan harṣam kuru-vṛddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ siṁha-nādaṁ vinadyoccaiḥ śaṅkham dadhmau pratāpa-vān. Okay, so word for word, please repeat. Tasya, his. Sañjanayan, increasing. Harṣaṁ, cheerfulness. Kuru-vṛddhaḥ, the grandsire of the Kuru dynasty. Bhīṣma, pitāmahaḥ, the grandfather. Siṁha-nādaṁ, roaring sound, like that of a lion. Vinadya, vibrating. Uccaiḥ, very loudly. sañjanayan, conchshell. Dadhmau, blue. Pratāpa-vān, the valiant. Okay. Yeah, pratapa means strong, noble person. So, translation, Srila Prabhupada. Then Bhīṣma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the first, blew his conchshell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. Please repeat. Then Bhīṣma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conchshell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. Purport, Srila Prabhupada. The grandsire of the Kuru dynasty could understand the inner meaning of the heart of his grandson Duryodhana. And out of his natural compassion for him, he tried to cheer him by blowing his conchshell very loudly, befitting his position as a lion. Indirectly, by the symbolism of the conchshell, he informed his depressed grandson Duryodhana that he had no chance of victory in battle because the Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa was on the other side. But still it was his duty to conduct the fight, and no pains would be spared in that connection. Yes. So, mukam karochi vachalam pangam laite girim yad kripatam aham bande Sri Guru Dinatarinam. Then tasya sañjanayan harṣam kuru-vṛddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ siṁha-nādam vinadyoccaiḥ śaṅkhaṁ dadhmau pratāpa-vān. Then Bhīṣma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conchshell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. So, this is very interesting, isn't it? Because just before that, if I remember correctly, Duryodhana, actually it's interesting, because Duryodhana starts speaking at the second verse, right? The first verse is Sanjay telling Dhritarashtra, and then second verse, O king, after looking over the army arranged by the military formation of the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. O teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Draupad. Who's that? Dristajun. Yeah, he was the disciple. He was the brother of Draupadi. Yeah. Draupad had made a... Because Duryodhana and him were in the Gurukul. We talked about it 2 weeks ago, right? And then after being friends in the Gurukul, Draupad insulted Drona. So Drona later sent Arjuna. He first sent Duryodhana to capture Draupad. He trained the Pandavas and the Kauravas. And he bring King Draupad here. Because Dronacharya was very poor, right? You know the story about Ashwatthama. The boys were teasing him, giving him flour in water, saying, "This is milk." And Ashwatthama said, "Oh, I've drank milk." So he was so poor he couldn't even give his son milk. So then Dronacharya, Drona at that time, he was insulted by Draupadi at the end of the Gurukul. We can't be friends, you're poor, I'm rich. And that is not possible. Friendship is between equals. So then Dronacharya kept that in his heart. And actually he sent Duryodhana to capture, but he couldn't. Then Arjuna went to capture Draupad. And then Draupad was captured by Arjuna. So at all times Duryodhana was being maligned and put in his place by the Pandavas. Bhīṣma, when they were children, Bhīṣma would bully them, the 100 sons of Gandhari. And that didn't go very well. Bhīṣma, you would gather them. He was a giant of a boy, even then, would throw them in the river. And they would, children are always fighting, sons, princes. So, of course, Duryodhana was very malicious. It's explained in Shastra, he was expansion of Kali. This is Kali Yuga, age of the Rakshasas. And I told the story about Duryodhana at one point. He was trained up by Balaram in the Gada, fighting with the Gada. Actually, he had a good fight with Bhīṣma at the end. But he had a weak thigh Bhīṣma hit him on the thigh, and that polished off Duryodhana. But before that, Duryodhana, I told the story, Duryodhana, at one point he thought, what's all this fighting and killing? I'll just give them the 5 villages. The 5 villages, I looked it up. They wanted, the Pandavas say, just give us 5 villages. And then, we'll be happy. But Duryodhana said, I won't give you enough land to put a pin in. Those 5 villages were Koshalatha, Vrikakashtala, Mandakandi, Varanavata. Varanavata is where the palace of Lak was built. And I looked that up today. That is northeast of Delhi. Sorry, no. Yes, 19 miles northeast of Meerut. Hastinapur is near Meerut. I looked it up. And Meerut is 60 miles. Hastinapur is in the Doha region of Uttar Pradesh, 23 miles from Meerut, 60 miles northeast of Delhi. It's on National Highway 34. And apparently they are doing archaeological digs, and they're finding the remnants of Hastinapur. Hastinapur means place of the elephants. So eventually Indraprastha, that was the place of the Pandavas. That's now New Delhi. So he gave them they requested 4 villages. And they said, you choose the 5th village. We're Kshatriyas. We should have some land to govern. Just give us 5 villages. But Duryodhana wouldn't do that even. So then the battle became inevitable. So Duryodhana, expansion of Kali, he was very bitter against the Pandavas. So I looked up in the Puranic encyclopedia, Duryodhana, and it has many, many pages about Duryodhana, many references. So we'll read some of this. Yes, and that's the page on Bhīṣma. It's a very old book. I've had it for a very long time. Yes. Here it is, Duryodhana. It says here, villain in the Mahabharata, the eldest and greatest of the Kauravas. See under Kaurava's birth. Dhritarashtra, born blind, married Gandhari. Hungry and thirsty, Vyasa once came to Dhritarashtra's palace, where Gandhari treated him sumptuously. Right, Vyasadeva. And he blessed her to have 100 sons by her husband. So of course, how can a lady have 100 sons? Right? Even a big family nowadays, 10, 12 is possible. So how did it happen? Of course, these are the associates of the Supreme Lord. And these are the Pandavas, Arjuna. It is explained in the Guru Ganadesha Deepika that actually Arjuna is the Sakya form. There is also Arjuna Gopi. He has a Gopi form also. And he expands for Krishna Leela, the Bhagavad Gita, as Arjuna. So, these personalities are not ordinary personalities. Like at this stage in Kali Yuga, if we can live 80, 90 years, we're doing very well. If we can lift a bottle of water, we're doing very well. But it'll explain here how Bhīṣma got all his power. So when we hear these extraordinary stories, we should understand that these are the extraordinary Leela and personalities of Devatas. They're not ordinary personalities like we find wandering in the streets of Marut or New Delhi nowadays. So, Vyasadeva blessed her to have 100 sons. How would that happen? Before long, Gandhari conceived, but even after 2 years, she did not deliver. So, of course, a woman is usually 9 or 10 months. Grief-stricken at this, she got herself aborted in secret, as a result of which she delivered, so-called delivered, a mass of flesh, a big lump of flesh. And hearing about it, Vyasadeva visited her again, Vyasadeva. As instructed by him, 100 pots were filled with ghee, and the mass of flesh was sprayed with cold water, as a result of which it became divided into 100 pieces, each the size of a thumb. Also a smaller piece of flesh remained. Those pieces of flesh were deposited in the pots filled with ghee, and the pots covered and kept in a secret place. Vyasa departed for the Himalayas for tapasya. So that's very interesting, Veda Vyasa, Jnana Avatar. He assembled all the Vedas in Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga. The Vedas would be just memorized. The people at that time could hear and remember. Nowadays we have to have books. But in those days they would just remember everything. So therefore, Sukadeva Goswami recited 18,000 verses of the Bhagavatam straight out. He's son of Vedavyas also. And I was reading Kalki Puran recently, and at the beginning there, it's very interesting, at Naimisharanya, where Sutta Goswami repeated what he heard when Sukadev taught Parikshit Maharaj. Then Markandeya Rishi, upon completion of the Srimad Bhagavatam at Naimisharanya, he asked, please go further. We're all assembled. Please tell us more. Krishna Katha. We want to know. Markandeya Rishi was there. And so then Sutta Goswami recited the Kalki Puran. And there it gives the birth activities, the place of birth, and that's Shambhala. There's a place, it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam, where Kalki,
Shambhalapur.
Yeah, Shambhalapur. And it says that Lakshmi Devi is performing tapasya, waiting for Kalki to appear. And there is one place on the way to Badrinath that her place of tapasya is there. So it's very interesting. She's waiting for her husband to be performing tapasya. So he will appear at that place, and his horse, sometimes it's a white horse, Kalki, but some people say, oh, that means it's Balaram. No, but according to Shastra, the horse in that Kalki Puran, the horse is an expansion of, who is Vishnu's carrier? Garuda, yes. So Garuda expands as the horse. So at the end of Kalki, Kali Yuga, Kalki appears. Actually, not at the end. We should be precise in the Vedas. It's Yuga Sanjam. Sanjam means conjunction. So it's not really Kali Yuga he appears in. It is at the Sanjam. Just like the Sanjam of the day and the night is dusk and dawn. Dusk and dawn are not night and they're not day. So we chant mantra at Trisandyam, right? So Kalki appears at Yuga Sanjam. And that verse there in the Bhagavatam, chapter 3, first canto, verse 25. So it explains that Kalki will appear. And at that time, people are very small. There are still devotees on the planet, actually. There's still devotees. But people are very small. Fruits are just seeds. Food is very sparse. People even eat their own children, the Ravanas and this and that. 50 years is the maximum lifespan of the non-devotee. So Kalki purifies them by killing them. And it's explained there in the Puran that the sandalwood, he goes all over Bhumandala, not this area of Bhumandala, and the sandalwood that falls from his body and the touch of Garuda in the form of the horse purifies the mandala, and then Satya Yuga starts at the end, after the purification. And the Yuga Sandhya, it is explained, some places it says that the Sanjam is a period of 36,000 years. The conjunction, just like dusk, maybe half an hour or an hour or so. So the Yuga Sanjam, in one place I read, the conjunction is 36,000 years. So it's quite a long period. And Kalki is on manifest at this period, purifying. And so you might wonder, that's a bit vicious. But actually, when people become very, very sinful, they can't understand spirituality, and their mental faculties are less. So when they are, like on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, they become killed by the Supreme Lord. They lose their bad karma. It's like within the karma and the karma phal and the tendencies are within the mental body. Because the soul, when he comes to the material atmosphere to control and enjoy, he takes this subtle body. He never loses that. He keeps that subtle body even at the point of reincarnation. The soul goes with his subtle body into the womb of a suitable woman and is born again for another life. So the subtle body is the accompaniment of the soul permanently, but the gross body is thrown off. So this subtle body carries the mental impressions, the karma, prarabdha and aparabdha karma, it's all there. But on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, or in the Leela of Krishna, when Jarasandha or Narakas, or these asuras were devastated by Krishna, what happens is that this subtle body becomes completely purified. But they don't have bhakti. They don't get bhakti about this. But all the bad karmas that are lying in there, karma, a nectar of devotion, is parabdha karma and aparabdha karma. Parabdha karma means manifest karma. Like this body that we have is our manifestation of some portion of our karma. But lying in seed is aparabdha karma. That means not yet manifested. So that will manifest just like a seed. Now it's springtime, so the seeds will blossom because the atmosphere is conducive. In the winter, the seeds lie asleep. So the seeds of aparabdha karma, unmanifest karma, do not blossom until the conditions become correct. So all that within the subtle body is purified. It's the slate is wiped clean, just like in a school. Maybe so much writing on the board, but then the teacher comes and cleans it all. So then they go to Brahman and they become purified in Brahman, but because they don't have bhakti, sukriti, they take birth from the Brahman and they enter the material atmosphere again, but in a purified state. So then they enter without enmity to the Supreme Lord, they become in a state of relative purity. They don't have bhakti sukriti, but that means the sukriti, the beneficial activities that bear fruit and encourage the soul to perform bhakti, sadhana. They don't have that. Everything is wiped clean, but they are not overtly sinful and demoniac and confused by the aparabdha karma within the subtle body. So that's why clean. So then they can take birth in high regions of the universe and make progress in that way. So that is just a bit of technical information. So, yes, so the 100 pieces went into the pots. In course of times, the pots burst open one by one, and from each pot emerged a boy. So we should always remember this was done by Vedavyas. So Vedavyas is the empowered acharya of the Supreme Lord. He's not an alternative, an ordinary person. From the 101st pot, a girl was born, eldest among the boys was named Duryodhana, and the girl was called? Yes. For other names, see under Kauravas. So this is a big book. Once you start, you read one name, it refers to other names. Oh, read Salva, this. So if you open this book, you end up reading it for 2-3 hours. So, let's see. Here's something very interesting. Duryodhana, at the time of his birth, cried in the voice of an ass. I won't imitate. But, you know, it's not the most beautiful sound, but he made a sound like that. Also, such evil omens, oh yes, upon hearing which the asses kept in their sheds of the palace, they also cried and answered him. He was a child going, have you seen? There used to be asses running on the bank of the Jamuna, and they would chase the lady ass, and they would get kicked. They would take that as kind of being friendly, I guess. So the asses answered. So you can imagine what's going on in the palace. Duryodhana is just taking his... Usually children cry, oh, mommy, mommy. But he was calling for an ass. Anyway, so also evil omens as the jackal howling. Jackals howled. Birds like crows, vultures, they're impious birds, you see. The fruit-eating birds are considered more pious. But crows like, you know, because crows go to the rubbish usually. Vultures go to dead bodies. That is an amazing thing, that the vulture can fly 3 miles in the sky or something, and he's got an eyeball the size of a, you know, so small, but it is so fine that he can see dead body from miles away. So an amazing thing. So, vultures crying, they were just like crows. They don't have a nice sound either, right? Vultures, I don't know what sound they make. Crying, and storms breaking out everywhere were witnessed. So storms, there was natural disturbances. Alarmed by such evil omens, Dhritarashtra sent for the Brahmins and his other friends and well-wishers like Bhīṣma and Vidura and inquired of them whether after the death of Dharmaputra, Dharmaputra means Yudhisthira, that's another name, because he is descended from Yamaraj through Kunti. So Dharmaputra, so he said after the death, because Dhritarashtra couldn't become king, so he wanted to become king through Duryodhana, because he was blind. So a blind king is, a blind person can't defend himself. Yeah, the Pandu was younger, so he took the rulership. But Dhritarashtra was so frustrated. So often you see that the parents, they haven't fulfilled some desire. So they try to fulfill their desire through their children. So Dhritarashtra inquired of the Brahmins, Dharmaputra, after his death, Duryodhana will be able to become king, because they were the natural heirs. I believe they were older than the Duryodhana, right? They were born first, before. But it's interesting to note that at that time, it wasn't just who was born first. Like in the last few hundred years, they had kings in Europe. It would always go to the eldest. The Muslims, though, they used to pick one of the sons but they had a very brutal system. I don't want to bring it up, but anyway, the Muslim king would have a whole harem, and he would have many sons. But then, as he was dying or on the process, they would choose who would be the next king. And guess what they would do with all the other sons he had? They would kill them all, because they thought, well, if those brothers stay alive, they'll make war on the chosen son. So that was the system in the Caliphate, based in modern-day Turkey. They would kill all the other sons of the king, leave one son alive. Then he would have a big harem and have lots more sons. Choose one and kill all the other sons. So, not Vedic civilization, but the thing was, even in these times, they would choose ultimately by quality. But it was clear to everyone that Dharmaputra, he was the eldest, and he was also the most qualified. It is said that Yudhisthira was a Brahmin amongst the Kshatriyas, because he was so peaceful, intelligent, self-possessed. Interestingly, it's said that Parashuram was the Kshatriya amongst the Brahmins, yes. And I have read, that's in Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, Bhakti Vinod Thakur. It is explained, his father was killed by some misbehaving Kshatriyas. They wanted to snatch one Kamadhenu that he had in his ashram. So he made war on the Kshatriyas. And it is explained that if he had been acting Brahminically, he would have thought, well, this is the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, I will just let it go. But because he was the Kshatriya amongst the Brahmins, his father was, who was the father of Parashuram? Huh? Jamadagni, yes. He had his ashram in the forest. So he took revenge. So you'll see that in the Gita, that the Kshatriya has Ishwarabhav. Ishwarabhav, he wants to control the material energy. But he should control in a pious way. There has to be a controller to regulate society. Duryodhana wanted to regulate society in his worship. That is the quality of the Rakshasa, like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu. They want to regulate society to make themselves worshipped. But Dharmaputra, they regulate society and encourage everyone to perform their dharma, their varnashram dharma, as an offering to the Supreme. So that is the difference. The Asura wants himself worshipped, whereas the Sura wants the Supreme worshipped. When you listen to the lectures of Srila Prabhupada, you will always hear Prabhupada say, so we should chant to please Krishna, we should remember to please Krishna, we should cook and offer nice prasada and bhoga to Krishna, for Krishna. So that is the devotional mentality. Everything I offer to Krishna in yagya. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji. So, but the demons or the Rakshasas, they want to be worshipped. So they want to regulate society, and they may be doing a very good job, but ultimate goal is that they should be worshipped. So we see that. And then they become so proud that they want to kill God. Just like Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. Vishnu, I will kill him, then I will be the Supreme. That is the Rakshasa Asuric mentality. They want to kill God. They're so foolish, they think that God is a kind of position that has been attained. And this is because generally they are attached to a Brahman conception of the absolute truth. There is Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman. So Brahman is the effulgence, the energy of the Supreme. So just like Hiranyakashipu, he performed great austerities to gather that Brahman energy, that teja. And then through that teja I can control and be victorious. And once I have this teja, I will kill Vishnu. He has got his power because of a certain Brahma teja, but I will accumulate by austerity so much teja that I can defeat him. So the Mayavadi philosophy, the attachment to the the Brahman effulgence, tends to give that feeling to the practitioner. Therefore, many yogis who are bereft of bhakti sukriti, they gather energy from their tapasya, but they want to use it by gathering mystic power and controlling others, political events, casting spells through their Brahman. But the bhakta doesn't. He gains the shelter of the Supreme Lord, and he relies on the Supreme Lord to arrange things that are favorable. So anyway, there were so many evil omens. Yes. Would Duryodhana be able to become king? As soon as Dhritarashtra had asked the question, evil omens like the world becoming dim, the light became dim. Jackals more howling were witnessed again. Scholars like Vidura did their best to divine what the future of Duryodhana would be. And after mature consideration, Vidura and the Brahmin Pandits opined that because Duryodhana's birth, the country and the people would be ruined. Right? So they were using astrology, knowledge, psychic power. And they were saying all these omens, the conjunction of the planets, this fellow Duryodhana, he will ruin the nation. And therefore they advised that he should be cast away into the forest and forsaken. But paternal affection did not permit Dhritarashtra to accept the advice. During this period, Gandhari was laid up for a few days with stomach trouble, and a Vaishya woman was engaged to look after Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra begot in that Vaishya servant a son called Yuyutsu. That's also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Thus, with 100 sons and Dushala for daughter, Dhritarashtra became rich in the matter of children. So then we're running out of time, but then it explains here, very interesting, I was reading this last night, that how young children, young boys, they're always competing and wrestling. So Bhīṣma was always bullying the 100 sons. They couldn't do anything against him. So one day the Kauravas, with the object, so they were very angry, doing away with Bhīṣma, escorted the Pandavas to Pramanakoti on the bank of the Ganga for water sports. There all of them ate sumptuous meals and took various drinks. But Duryodhana had secretly mixed Kalakuta poison in the food of Bhīṣma. After taking meals, they began playing water sports. After the sports in the Ganga again, they returned to their tents and slept. Owing to the effects of the poison and overexertion, children, they usually play till they're exhausted. During the day, Bhīṣma slept stone dead. because of the Kala-Kuta poison. While all were asleep, during the night Duryodhana bound the hands and legs of Bhīṣma with cords and threw him into the depths of the Ganga. Bhīṣma, who was still unconscious, sank down to the very bottom of the river, where the Nagalokas, residents of Nagaloka, came up and saw him. Now, the Nagaloka are then also a class of asuric beings. They have snake bodies and they have jewels and poison. They come from one of the 7 lower planetary systems, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Tala, Tala, Mahatala, and Patala, Rasatala, Patala. That's described in 5th canto of Bhagavatam. So they saw him and they bit him. The Nagas bit Bhīṣma. The poison of the Nagas neutralized the effect of the Kala-Kuta poison in Bhīṣma through their bites and could not make even a scratch on his skin. Freed thus from the effects of poison, Bhīṣma took himself up from sleep and drove off the Nagas. Alarmed at these developments, the Nagas called Vasuki, because he's the leader of the Nagas, up to the scene, and he, recognizing Bhīṣma, held him in embrace and gave him much money and costly gems. Because he didn't want, Bhīṣma was ready to give trouble to the Nagas, over whom Vasuki rules. Bhīṣma refused the gifts, but asked Vasuki for Naga-ras, which would impart the strength of 1,000 Nagas to those who used it. The Nagas are very, snakes are very powerful. Vasuki gave Bhīṣma 8 potfuls of Naga-ras, which the latter drank to the last dregs, and thus gained immeasurable strength. When next morning after water sports the Pandavas and the Kauravas woke up from sleep, Bhīṣma was found missing. Duryodhana said that Bhīṣma had returned to Hastinapur, lying. So that's also a characteristic of the Asura. The lying means you're trying to remake reality to your convenience. But this did not satisfy the Pandavas. Kunti lamented over the absence of Bhīṣma. Bhīṣma, who drank the Naga-ras, lay on the veranda of Vasuki for 8 days in the manner of one who had lost consciousness. So he was absorbing that. By the time he woke up on the 8th day, the body had almost fully assimilated the rasa. Vasuka told Bhīṣma that 8 potfuls of Naga-ras would impart the strength of 10,000 elephants. And then, at the instance of Vasuki, Bhīṣma took his bath in the holy waters and wore new clothes and fragrant garland. He ate the foodstuffs offered by Vasuki, and taking leave of him, followed by the Nagas, he came up from the water to the bank of the Ganga. Bhīṣma gave a detailed description to his mother and brothers of all that had happened to him. Dharmaputra advised him to keep the secret. After the incident, once again was Kala-Kuta mixed in the food of Bhīṣma. Yuyutsuv, so we know it was Yuyutsuv, born of the Vaishya woman to Dhritarashtra, gave the Pandavas confidential report about it. Because of the powerful effect of Naga-ras, the Kala-Kuta consumed by Bhīṣma again did not do any harm to him, but only got assimilated in his body. On another occasion, Duryodhana killed the charioteer of Bhīṣma. That's in another. So then, anyway, there was when they were all trained up. This is also another story. They would have a mela, and they would show all the skills that they'd learned as Kshatriya from their teacher, Duryodhana. So they would display that. And then at this meeting, to push the Pandavas down, Duryodhana stood up and he said, I'm going to appoint Kṛṣṇa, because Kṛṣṇa was accepted by Duryodhana as an ally. I'm going to make him the king of Anga. That is a place below this. I also looked that up. That is in the foothills of the Himalayas. But then, now Kṛṣṇa had been already refused by Draupadi at the Swayamvara. Later that would happen. And then also, there was a big discussion. Duryodhana said, I'm going to give kingship to Kṛṣṇa of this area. But then there was a big discussion against Kṛṣṇa. Well, we don't know of his lineage. He was brought up by... Huh?
A charioteer.
Yes, a charioteer. And his mother was called Radha. Yeah, very interesting. He's the son through Kunti of Suryadev. She chanted that mantra, that was the first one she called. So this also really turned Kṛṣṇa against the Pandavas, because they said, you can't give kinship to son of a charioteer, we don't know about his lineage. So you can see all the politics at the high level of rulership. So then they tried to kill the Pandavas that was a later plan. But the person who built he made a tunnel. And there were 5 Nishadas, local people, that were also sleeping in the palace. They were mistaken, the burnt bodies, for the Pandavas. But the Pandavas escaped, and they went to Draupadi, King Draupadi. So anyway, big story here. It's pages and pages, all summarized from the thing. So this gives an idea of the background of the relationship between Duryodhana and this and that. But at the same time, you see, he's nervous. So he's, before the battle, they have a limited army and ours is unlimited. But he was still nervous. Psychically, people who are demoniac, they're always a bit paranoid that some disaster is coming. Because when you do impious activities, it's not that you just walk away. The impiety stays in the subtle body. So therefore liars, cheats, thieves, murderers, rogues, rascals, people who propagate lies, they always think somebody is coming for me. Because within the subtle body is this aprarabdha karma, and it is within their consciousness. So at a deep level they feel, I'm going to suffer for this in the future. You understand? It's like if you rob a bank, and you run away with the money. So every time you see a policeman you think, is he coming for me? Right? But if you're an honest citizen, you're not scared of the police. Right? But if you're a thief or a murderer, that policeman is looking at me. Maybe I'm being investigated. So sinful people, they live in this anxiety, this paranoia. When will the fruit of my previous activities bear upon me? So this is a good aspect of knowledge. Whereas somebody who performs charity and good bhajan, who tolerates ill things, and who always is tried to be kind and generous, he becomes peaceful. Because he knows, at a deeper level, he knows, I've done the right thing. So doing that right thing will bear a good fruit in the future. So, but apara, good, pious or pious, when one surrenders to Krishna through bhajan, both those things are gone. And it is explained that if you lie and cheat against a Vaishnava, then you lose your piety to him, and his impiety comes to you. That's in the Vedanta Sutra. The question is asked, what about the Vaishnava, he becomes free of his karma and he becomes liberated. But the material world is a kind of mechanical device of action and reaction. So where does his impiety and piety go? His impiety goes to those who were antithetical. Do you understand the word? Who were against him, who lied or cheated him or spoke badly of him. They absorb his bad karmas. And those that were friendly and nice to that Vaishnava who gained liberation, they get his piety. So this is something to remember. Generally, the impious people think, I'll do something bad, but I'll adjust. But no, it's built into the material world. It's action and reaction, physics. It's all supervised, of course. It's not ultimately mechanical. But if we perform pious activity, then the heart becomes light, and we think, I did the right thing. Let Krishna decide the future. So, of course, that is why this is the Vedas, but the Vedas in story form is the Mahabharata. They illustrate all these principles. So Duryodhana, he had this nagging, I've got the bigger army, I've got Bhīṣma, I've got Dronacharya, I've got, but I don't feel good about this. So he's nervous.
Not confident.
Sorry?
Not confident.
Yeah, not confident. He felt there's some anxiety because he knows that the fruit of his bad activities, it looks like it's coming out of the ether into the world. So it's very interesting. Anyway, so that's what the mood of Duryodhana is. And so Prabhupada didn't mention, it's in another purport, I remember reading, that Bhīṣma blew his conch, and though it was the lion-like roar, Duryodhana still, and everyone then, it says, started blowing, and it was their conches and ringing bells, but Duryodhana didn't feel good. And the reason is, because Bhīṣma, as Prabhupada mentions in purports here, blew the conch, but the conch is the symbol of Vishnu, yes. Vishnu has 4 arms, right? The conch and the, what are for the devotees? The conch and the no, that's for the demons. Padma, that's right. The Padma and the conch, the Padma, the lotus, very beautiful, that means that's for the devotees, the conchshell. But for the demoniac, the Gada. And the so that's the meaning of I think Vishnu holds the conch and the lotus above, right? The Gada is on the side. Yeah, it depends on the different, it's all in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the different arrangements. So, let's chant Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Let us try to practice sadachar, that means good behavior, so that we get the conchshell and the Padma, not the Gada and the Chakra. Okay, thank you all very much. I hope you enjoy these stories, right? It's good to refresh our mind about them. It's fast. There's no book like the Mahabharata. There's no literature in the world like the Vedic literature. You know, there's just nothing. And I can tell you that because I studied English at Nottingham University, Cambridge University, I got qualifications. And it's all mental speculation. There's no real, it's just maybe this, maybe that, I think this, I think that, existentialism, no, yeah. It's just confusion for the mind. But when you take shelter of sampradaya, and you chant mantra in Kali Yuga, and you read the Vedas, then you become, by grace of Guru and Krishna, you get some realization. So thank you all for listening. We'll continue with more stories next Friday, according to the names that are coming up. So it's good to and then you get the full picture, setting the scene. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Sadhu Sangha Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Thank you all very much.